tonight finally and get started on the planning process. So I'm the project manager for the project, and with me is Gabby Dambach with Shockey, and Gabby's our engagement person. All the materials that you're looking at were most of them prepared by Gabby. And then we have other team members in Kansas City that you'll meet along the way. So April is our planning lead, and she's prepared some of our materials as well. So give her credit where credit is due, and then you'll meet her at your next meeting. Joining us, as you remember probably from the proposal process, is RISE Community Development, and you'll meet them through the process, as well as Lock Mueller that's helping us with transportation planning. So that's the whole team. But I did want to just reiterate what our purpose is today. It's really to acquaint you with the planning process, get you really comfortable with what the plans are for you, your role, and just what our overall planning process will be. We'll also talk about what community engagement plans we have and get some feedback from you on our plans for engagement. We know that's really important. And then we'll spend time talking to you about vision and strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So thanks to everybody who did the survey. We know not everybody had a chance to do it, and that's okay. We compiled the results that we got, and we'll have some additional discussion during the meeting tonight, so everybody has a chance to weigh in on those things. So we will start off this evening with some introduction. So I know that you have worked together a little bit before through the proposal process, but if you wouldn't mind, just introducing yourself, maybe tell us how long you've lived in Olivet, and then what, and your name tags note this as well, but like what role you play in the city or professionally. So a lot of you I know have positions on appointed bodies, and so share that with us. And Carol, you want to start? You took a pause in eating, so it's a good excuse to grab you. Yes.
Oh, if we're going to do without you, Bob. So I am Carol Wagoner. I am the vice chair of the Planning Commission. I have lived in all of that really most of my life. Lived in New City and Clayton for a short time in apartments, but ended up buying a house here when I came back. So I've been a resident really for 60 some odd years. And I'm excited about this process. I'm going to turn it over to the chief.
Good evening. My name is Rick Knox. I sit on the city council. I have lived in Olivet for 40 years. I was a city employee with the police department for 41 years and 12 years with the as chief of police. I have other things that interests I have. I'm executive director of the Major Case Squad, Greater St. Louis, and I also sit on the board of the St. Louis or the Holocaust Museum in Creek Falls.
Good evening. I'm Eric Ziegel, a resident since 2014, so newbie on that, I guess almost 9 years. Also serve as a trustee for Indian Trails subdivision, and my day job, a community development lending with Central Bank.
Okay, all right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Lewis. I'm a member of the planning committee as well. And I've been a resident coming up on 11 years now. And during the day, I am the director of the program management office at Carina.
Rod Pattershok. Says here I'm chair of the Economic Development Commission. Nice.
Is it true?
Yes, it is. Being truthful is something we want to do here. I've lived here since 93. So that would be, or 94. So that'd be coming up on 29 years as of Cinco de Mayo. Don't ask me how that happened. I, been involved in the school district. I've been on the Economic Development Commission since '07, and we've seen a fair amount of change in that time, and just really proud and happy to be part of it.
Good evening. My name is Keisha Lee. I have been a resident since 2011. I guess that's 12 years. I also serve on the Parks and Recreation Commission. I also have served on the Ladue Board of Education for the last 6 years, and hopefully another 3. I'm currently serve as president of the Board of Education.
Todd, I'm a resident and I've actually lived in 2 different houses in Olivet. And I think I've lived here for over 25 years. And I volunteer a lot for the Parks Department.
Omar Malik, coming up on 10 years in Olivet. My day job is in-house counsel to Edward Jones at the headquarters. Been on the zoning board of adjustment for about 3 years now. And I'm also president of the Asian American Chamber of Commerce here in St. Louis. I just started my term in January, 3-year term.
My name is Annie Bochetti. I have been a resident of Olivet for just about 5 years now. And during the day, I am a developmental therapist for Missouri First Steps.
And I'm Jim Person. My day job is retired. I have lived in Olivet for 25 years. And I'm chair of the Parks Commission.
My name's Rob Jergiel. I've been an Olivet resident for 23 years, and I'm the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as I also am on the Board of Appeals. My day job, I'm an industrial hygienist and environmental engineer.
Barb, I feel like you should just get to say whatever you want because words that maybe we'll ask you for words of wisdom at the end. And then you all know Carlos and Don. So what was I going to? Oh, I wanted to pass this around. Yeah. Yes. So we have so we know you're here. This is a sign-in sheet, but this makes sure that in the future we have your name spelled correctly. If we didn't tonight, and then gives us your best favorite phone number, email. So sometimes we have a work and you'd rather get home or vice versa. So just so we can, hunt you down for future meetings and
In the
assignments.
nicest way possible.
Nicest way possible. That will help us out. Okay, well, I think we're going to start. We really went over the agenda. Let's see, we might need the PowerPoint back in a minute, Carlos. So you have this at your place as well. And I kind of hit the highlights of this a minute ago. The main, something I didn't mention was the main act of the meeting tonight is going to have you work in small groups to look at trends. So it's kind of a game, but we've looked at different trends nationally that impact cities, Olivet and others. And then we've paired that with some demographic and other data that we've been gathering over the last couple of months. So you'll play a game to kind of figure out and decide which trends are going to have the biggest impact you think on Olivet over the life of this plan. So that's really going to be the second half of our meeting. And I'll just warn you that prior to that, I'm going to ask you to take a group photo. So yes, I didn't put that on the agenda. We thought it might scare people away, but now you know. That'll get us up and moving before we sit in small groups. This is the easy meeting where we're all happy, and then we can take one at the end when we're also happy. Yeah. Okay, Gabby, you want to do a little
Yeah.
orientation for members and tell them about what's in their binders?
Yes, so in front of you, you guys have these wonderful binders. Carlos, can I borrow yours to show everybody what's in it? So this is going to be kind of your reference guide as a member of this committee. So the first thing you see in there when you open it up is your member guide. And there's a couple of good things that we can talk about in there as we are going through. So basically, you guys are the cheerleaders and the advocates for the comprehensive plan. I'm realizing that when I hit it on my laptop, it's not actually moving.
Barbara's working, I think I'm getting the
Okay.
PowerPoint.
Oh,
Yes, please.
I'm referencing the PowerPoint you guys can't see right now. But we can walk through kind of what's in your binder while we're waiting on that. So this is the very beginning is your member guide. If you guys want to walk through that a little bit, we can talk about it. Your first tab, if you switch it over, if I've done everything right, you should see your process diagram, and that's kind of the schedule of the entire project. And it has everything in there that we're doing, including even community engagement, the advisory committee schedule. Your second tab is a reference guide for you. It has some definitions of terms that we typically use. We just want to make sure you guys know what's going on as we are talking about things. Your third tab is your planning concepts and context. It's just more information. It goes through each chapter of the plan as we, write this out. We want to make sure you guys know. And there's also right behind that a map that folds out of the entirety of Olivet in case you need to reference it. After that, your last tab in there, or your second to last, sorry, has the project snapshot. You guys are one of the lucky ones. You get to see it all in full. On other places, we'll have pieces of it broken up. So this is just a full representation of data of your community. So we can, and we'll be referencing this throughout. So this isn't the only time we'll be talking about all of this stuff. Last thing in there is your trend cards. This last tab is where in my mind, where all of the meeting resources will go as we go through the project. So it's where you can stick all of your stuff you want to save at the very end. We also got your little notebook in there so that you can write stuff down. Yes. Are there any questions so far? So we've got, well, I'll take the clicker so that I
Know what you're doing?
yeah. So as advisory committee members, you guys are our working group of representatives with diverse interests in this community. You represent various demographics, sectors, geographic areas, and you guys are the people who have a pulse on community issues. So you're really here to tell us what's going on, and we take everything you say and let us know, and we make sure that that's input into the plan. Your role is to consider the interests of others and see all sides of our issues in the community. You are supposed to think futuristically, strategically, and holistically about Olivet, and you could potentially lead the community during implementation of the project towards the very end. And I know being on a committee like this can be really overwhelming, but we want you guys to know that you guys already have the skills you need to help plan for the future. And that's why you're here. You guys are super equipped to help us through this process. And we're really excited to have you. So through this process, we wanted to share some effective participation tips. You guys have been together longer than we've been with you. So this might be a little overkill, but we like to share it. We want you guys to share your best thinking, share and explore your differences. You guys can agree to disagree, but don't be disagreeable. Be respectful of other people's perspectives by listening and understanding, and then speaking so that you are also understood. And lastly, think about what is best for your entire community beyond your own interests. And then lastly, we have your advisory committee commitment. This is meeting number 1. And so there will be 4 meetings in total with us. And after some or most of the meetings, you'll have a homework assignment. It's not hard, I promise. Which you will get in the beginning of April from us, probably an email from me or Beth. Advisory committee meeting number 2 will be in May. The third one will be on July 13th. And the fourth one and very last one will be in October. Any questions? Yes,
You're recording this.
yes,
Yeah,
Are these meetings open to the public?
yes.
Okay, so people could be back here, et cetera. Okay.
In
And so
an-
this will be posted on the internet, et cetera.
The video stream will be available. Audio wise, there'll be some difficulties like later on, as I noted. When we break up in groups, the logistics just aren't there to try to coordinate that, but all meetings are open to the public. And I will live stream those meetings as we go through. Audio, again, though, we'll try to do our best.
and a note on that, so members of the public could be here in an observational mode. Not able to participate, this is your meeting. So public is, we want to be transparent and we want people to be able to see what's going on and how decisions are being made. But if there was someone here from the public, we would ask them to observe. And then we'd of course be available for questions afterwards, if they wanted to engage with us. All right, well, let's talk about what a comprehensive plan is. So most of you are many of you, I won't say most of you, but a lot of you are really experts on what happens in Olivet, and you know a lot about planning. So I'm going to talk about what a comprehensive plan is and what it isn't. And you might just think about this as a way to help others understand the comprehensive planning process. So as you're with other people, as you're out in the community, these are some talking points that you would have to explain what a comprehensive plan is. So a comprehensive plan defines the community's vision for the future. These are the same things, by the way, if you went to the Coffee with the Mayor, you've seen this before. So same information we shared there. But it defines the community's vision for the future. It considers many aspects of a community. It's really comprehensive. As the name implies, it focuses on the physical assets of a community, I would say. So it's going to cover housing. It's also going to cover the economy and jobs, infrastructure, parks. So it covers a lot of your community. It involves a lot of public input. This process will involve a lot of public input, and that's critical because it's really your community that needs to define its direction so that the bodies that you all serve on have a clear mandate from the community on what you're doing. So I attended a PCDC meeting last week briefly, and I think I heard the comprehensive plan mentioned 2 or 3 times in the span of an hour. You know, it's definitely something that's a touchstone that you use as you look at individual developments and as the city makes decisions. And then it provides a framework for policymakers as they evaluate individual development proposals like that work in PCDC and so on. So a couple things that comprehensive plans are not, and I think these are things that as we talk to members of the public, we often see people being a little bit confused about. So a comprehensive plan is not going to result in immediate change, right? This is a plan, you had a plan in 2006 that's been implemented for, 14 plus 3, 17 years. And it's been unfolding over that period of time. The comprehensive plans are not the market. So there still needs to be a lot of private sector work to develop your community. And there's always interaction between what the city's able to do and what the market has to do. Public sector can't be a primary investor. You need developers, you need home builders and so on. And sometimes the public is a little bit confused on that. So that's something that we can help them understand. And it's not zoning. A lot of, the heart really of a comprehensive plan is going to be your future land use plan. But that doesn't automatically change your zoning. It defines the vision. It kind of puts in land use terms, the vision that the community comes up with. So those are some common misconceptions, I would say. Can you all think of any others that you feel like are important to articulate? Yeah. Yes.
If you can turn your microphone on again.
Sorry, Barb. I would always talk about a plan as a policy document.
Mhm.
it sets policies, land use policies mostly, or infrastructure policies for the community, so that the community develops programs and looks at options. They can see, yes, this is in line with what the overall policy, global policy, if you would, for our community is, or no, it's not.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, Jim?
One of the things, it's not a top-down document,
Mhm.
that it's, everyone's involved with.
Being firmly grounded in what the community is telling you they want. So just a quick touch on your 2006 comprehensive plan. So it focused on redevelopment of Olive Boulevard. And that was very much by design and what the community was asking for at the time, because there was a lot of disinvestment. And so the focus of that plan was really, what can we do about redeveloping Olive? And Carlos, I'll ask you to jump in a minute just to make sure I'm not mischaracterizing anything. But that was a focus for that plan. I think a big question you have for this plan is whether that is still the desire of the community. Should that be the focus? Or should it be something different? The 4 pillars, or the 4 focus areas for your current comprehensive plan are the community development, economic development, transportation, and public spaces. So that's the current plan. And we'll be checking in with that plan through our existing plan review process that's underway right now. So as part of our planning work, we review a lot of all of its existing plans, and then lift up some of the recommendations. And then we go through a process to determine what's relevant now, what's not. So that comprehensive plan, your current comprehensive plan in that way is really going to get a good filtering. And we'll kind of bring back to staff to figure out, what parts do we want to keep in the conversation this time, or what parts need to fall off. So there will be some good continuity in our terms of our process, examining that plan and considering what we want to keep. So let's talk about, one more thing on process. Gabby mentioned the process diagram in your notebook. So this is really an at a glance view of a lot of different facets of the process. So let's just look at it for a second. Starting at the bottom, because we're going to base our plan on community involvement. This green line, or text in green at the bottom here, is going to give you an idea of what kinds of public involvement take place and when it's going to happen. So that will be our public involvement. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. Next line up, the orange, there are specific times when we're going to interface. Oh, I didn't put it in here. Okay. Just look at your hand up there. We're going to have the Planning Commission, PCDC, and City Council have joint meetings at a couple times in the process. So you as an advisory committee are making recommendations to the PCDC. They're the entity that's responsible for adopting, this is by Missouri statute, adopts a community's comprehensive plan. To do and implement a lot of what you're going to put into your comprehensive plan, you're going to need funding and approval on policies and procedures from your city council. And so it's important that those groups are both involved throughout. That's why you see PCDC members around the table and representatives from that group, also representative of the city council, because we want to make sure that everyone is going along through the whole process, and that helps us make sure that we don't get to the end and have someone say, in those important bodies say, you know what, I don't like that we've been talking about X, Y, or Z. So we've got that alignment built in. Your meetings are on here. You're right in the middle of this diagram. We have a couple meetings with the city management team to work with department directors. And then the blue line at the top just tells you that we're working with Carlos and Don and Barb pretty much constantly. We meet with them a couple times a month and talk to them more than they maybe want to talk to us in between. Okay, let's talk about, well, first, any questions on the process? Yeah, Stephanie.
Yeah, so can residents come to like the joint council and PCDC workshops? Can like residents show up and listen or make comments or ask questions?
All meetings will be open to the public.
Okay.
In terms of the engagement, there's generally going to be presentations to those boards. I'd leave it up to the chairman. I don't want to, I'm not sure if there will be interaction opportunities during that meeting.
Okay.
I'll look into it and see what I can.
Because I've had people ask, because I tell people that, you know, I'm on this committee. And that if they have input to let me know, and they're like, well, can I go to the meetings too? Or, you know, can I go to some of these?
So there are going to be a lot of opportunities. Everything you see in that bottom green line is for the community. So we have a community survey online now.
Right.
There will be some pop-up kinds of opportunities where staff goes to existing meetings. And so if you have someone who wants to hear about the comprehensive plan, why don't you talk to us afterwards? And we can see if there's an opportunity to intersect with them specifically. But there's a community survey. We're going to have a vision workshop. And then which will be May 18th, mark it down, May 18th. For you PCDC members, it does fall in one of your meetings. Therefore, you were already obligated. So no excuses, no. So there will be a vision workshop on May 18th. There's a community survey out online now. We'll be putting more activities as we go through the process online. You'll start to see signage in probably a couple weeks all over town, where we have links to our website and to a survey that's out now. So we have a lot of opportunities built in. Is that not what they were going for?
Yeah, I guess, are you gonna have like in-person meetings, I thought like a town hall meeting or something? I know you had the coffee with the mayor, but you know, if people work, that was at 9 a.m. So.
The vision workshop is going to be in the evening on the 18th.
Okay.
And that's going to, I mean, I'd love to see 120 people here.
Okay.
I'd love to see more than that, but I try to be realistic in my expectations. So that will be a real, tables around the room and roll up your sleeves and people around small tables and telling us what they think. So there's that in-person opportunity. And then when we have a draft plan, there's a draft plan public open house that would be scheduled later in the process.
Okay.
So yeah, we want to hear from people and want to make sure they have several opportunities to get involved. We want to make it easy for them. So whether they work or not, do it at different times. There's another coffee with the mayor that's coming up on April 18th. Is it? I'm gonna.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And that one's going to be at is it
Old Bonham School.
Old Bonham School. And it's going to be in the evening.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't, you got one, I don't know, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
So-
6:30 or so, early evening.
So that will be another opportunity for people in the evening. Yeah. But really good question, but that's
Stephanie, one of the things I would say is that these meetings are open to the public, the planning commission, council workshops open to the public. But they can come to those to learn about the process, but if they really want to give input, it's these other forms. So one of them is more process oriented and the other is more input oriented.
Okay. Yeah, and the one at the 18th is more okay. Okay.
so on the screen is a summary of the public engagement that will happen for the project. So up on that top line, you have the project management meetings, which we mentioned. Those are meetings with your city staff, the city management team workshops, the joint council, and city staff workshop, joint council and PCDC workshop. So in this middle row, you have our meetings with community groups. And so you're one of those groups, you're our main recommending body. We'll also be doing small groups, focus groups. They might be developers, might talk to you about lenders. So we might talk to home builders. We might talk to just other groups in the community. Sustainability might be another one. So we're in the process of kind of figuring out which how to do those focus groups. We also have stakeholder interviews that we can use to get at some of the interest in the community. So we're figuring out exactly how those shake out, but those will be some smaller group meetings that we have. And then the bottom line there tells you everything the public can do. So everything on that bottom line is available to everybody in Olivet, and that's really how we want to get input for the plan. So how many people have been to our website? Yes.
Which it is not yet. You'll get a copy of the PowerPoint though.
Yes, and we'll probably make that a separate one. I know you can't, we'll get it to you. So what was I thinking? Okay, we did want to get your thoughts on okay, we're gonna do a couple. Oh, I asked you who had gone to the website and I had. You don't count because you designed it. The survey.
Yeah,
The survey.
There's two surveys. There's an intro survey, which was on Survey Monkey. And then now there's a new, the website has a survey about vision and issues, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, olivetcomplan.com.
Yeah.
It's right at the top.
I'm gonna have a QR code for you momentarily. So, we have a couple things that we can tell you about the website in just a second, but I wanted to mention that we did a little bit of, we've done a little bit of engagement, just a little bit. The coffee with the mayor in February that made us famous because we made the cover. So that's kind of fun. So the coffee with the mayor, and then Gabby mentioned an introduction survey. We wanted to take advantage of Turkey Trot, which happened back in November, Thanksgiving time. And so we did a very short survey. Really, the main purpose of that was to gather contacts so we could reach out to them now. But there was a question in there about, name 3 words or list 3 words that would describe Olivet in 20 years. And I'll show you the results from that in just a minute. So that was a little survey just to take advantage of that big influx of people from Turkey Trot. We got 186 responses to that survey. So we're going to e-blast out to them and tell them we've got this longer survey on vision and issues now. So that was that. So coffee with the mayor and Stephanie was there, and was anyone else with us and Carol was okay. Okay, I think I've seen you all at enough things that I can't remember exactly where I saw you. So you all can jump in, but I just want to mention some of the discussion, because what we heard that day, a lot of what we heard was that schools are very important in all of that. There was some concern about about apartments and maybe there being too many apartments and the impact that has on schools. And so that was a concern people had. There was an assumption, I think, that that rental units were bad for schools. And I think that's an assumption that we need to explore a little bit, because that may or may not be true. So I think it made us want to look a little, and then we also heard that diversity is a strength for all of that. So I'd say those are themes of the discussion that night, not that morning, not everything that was said, but those were some things that we spent time talking about. So we wanted to, Carlos asked us to kind of take a look at data on renters, just to get a sense grounded in that data about who's renting in Olivet. What do we know about those folks? And so I put a couple of the highlights on here, and just want to offer it to you all because you're going to be having community conversations. And so just to have the information available. So about half of rental households have children. So half do, half don't. Renting households do tend to be younger, but not exclusively so. There's a pretty solid cohort that I'm going to get the ages a little bit wrong, but it's like 35 to 54 is also a lot of folks renting in that age bracket. Much of Olivet's diversity is in its rental households. And so we were hearing from folks that diversity is a strength of the community. And so just keeping in mind that a lot of Olivet's diversity is there. And then renter occupied households are a little bit smaller than owner occupied households, which makes sense. Apartments homes for rent tend to be smaller. I think there's a little bit of an assumption in the conversation that was had at Coffee with the Mayor that the rental households were big and bringing a lot of kids and causing a big impact on the schools. And so no doubt when any new resident comes in, there's an impact on schools. But it looks like those households are smaller. We're not seeing they're twice the size and bringing 5 kids each. So just a little bit of information on renters that we're keeping in mind. Yeah. You know what, I can send you, it's the American Community Survey from 2022. And we can send you, if you like data, I can send you some charts. Would everybody like to get a copy of that?
Is it in the snapshot?
There are bits and pieces of it in the snapshot, but we really kind of did a deeper look at it. So we've got I've got a spreadsheet. So do you? Okay, this is great. All right, so we'll send you the renter information. Because that's likely to come up in our conversations. And so it's good to have that information available. So those were our 2 early engagement activities.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
do you also have that for single family homes as well? Or is
Yeah,
that- Is that part of the same survey?
it's owner occupied and rental occupied. Is the
Okay, so
comparison
you've got
we did.
both sides. of it.
Yes, so you could see both. And I think April looked at 10 or 12 different comparisons. So, yeah. This is the website. If you haven't been there, olivetcomplan.com. This QR code will take you to the survey. So encourage you to do that if you have not, and definitely tell lots of people to take the survey. The survey is going to be available. We'll have it out probably until that workshop that goes, our vision workshop in May. So it's going to be out for a couple of months.
I think that one actually takes you to the homepage. The next one takes you to the survey, I think.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So the survey that's out has questions about a little bit about vision, asks about community strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then walks through a series of questions on different issues. There's questions on housing, on transportation, on economy, on Olive Boulevard specifically. We also included a couple questions on diversity to understand what people are thinking about when they say diversity. So we have a better understanding of that. So it'll be interesting to get the feedback on that. So, yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, on the school question, I think
Yeah.
the other issue with renting, I think has to do with capacity and the growth.
Yeah.
Of the rental population and then impact on capacity in schools. So if we could provide that information, that would be great.
So what are you thinking of us? What what is the capacity
The
of the
growth rate
school?
of the rental population and
Oh,
the percentage makeup, maybe
Mhm.
even of the school population, renters versus, single household, just a breakdown, and then the growth over time. Is the rental population growing,
Okay.
compared to the household population, just
Yeah.
we have a complete picture. of what's
Yeah,
happening.
Right,
Yeah.
and to add, that was my takeaway. People are concerned because my understanding, and I don't know. Probably should be between all these different apartment complexes going up, I heard there's 750 units. And so people are just worried that not the size of the families, people don't care about that, but with 750 new units, that there'll be overcrowding in the schools because they're already doing that huge expansion at Obanum and the high school, the schools they're already expanding the school. So is that taken into account another 750 kids potentially? I don't.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
before we get too much down the rabbit hole here, a good source for that is the school district itself. Because I know that they actually
like
did.
they'll do enrollment projections.
They
Do
have, and actually, they've looked at, when we did, Proposition R, Proposition 1. We actually looked at, some of the apartment buildings that were already built. And, the effect is really negligible.
Okay, and I've done work in Ladue. And Ladou's population is doing this a little bit. And so I'm not, but I don't know what that means for the schools. But there could be a little bit of an offset between population decline in Ladue and population.
I'll say that what we've seen in the schools, like Rod said, there's been little to no really effect on the schools with the apartments. We had the same question with the apartments that went up in Creve Coeur. We thought that would overpopulate Spady, and we really haven't seen that. The people that are moving into the apartments are not necessarily people who have kids due to the rental rates.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of it is
Yeah.
is not necessarily going to impact the schools.
Yeah.
Or at least we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But we're watching it closely as well.
And,
Okay.
and then on EDC, we've had a lot of discussion over the last number of years with regards to this, because we've actually looked at the economic benefits of, or problems and the issues that higher density developments actually bring to a community with spotlight on the schools.
Okay. Well, good. So that might be more work we could just bring into the conversation. Okay. Well, good. Okay. So this is our last item on engagement, and then we're going to talk a little bit about vision. So part of our engagement strategy is going to meet the community where people in the community where they already are. So we will have a couple of big meetings where we have people come to us. But we know that that's not easy for a lot of people. So we want to put ourselves out there. So we're going to have engagement stations, which are really displays with our QR code and signage that's attention getting. We'll have paper surveys that are part of these displays as well. So we want to put those where people are going to be. And so you can see the ideas that our team and the city have come up with so far. So under engagement stations, there are some larger displays or actual physical presence that we would go have for a couple hours at some places. And then there's a list of places that are secondary where we might be able to just put some posters or something. And then we have some event ideas on that far right. So definitely interested in your thoughts on additional opportunities. So, yeah. Okay. Add those for signage. Yeah, maybe.
I would just be curious to know if the survey would be in other languages. Is that a thought you had?
So we're looking at that. And so like our initial thought is to keep an eye on it because we do, Rise actually has brought this up and we've had some correspondence on it just over the last few days, looking at the top languages that are alternative languages in the community. Right now, it looks like most of the, based on ACS, American Community Survey data, it looks like most of those who speak English or speak foreign languages as their first language have someone else in their household who speaks English. So that tells us something. I think what we're going to try to do right now, because there's not, a 10% of the population that speaks Spanish. An issue is also that there are a lot of different languages. And so if we translate, it's like, okay, Ukrainian and Hindi. And so which do we go with? So we're going to take a look at our participation. And as we're monitoring engagement participation throughout, we're going to kind of pay attention to who's missing. And then if we feel like some of those groups are missing, then we'll do some targeted work where it would make sense to translate. So rather than put every sign in 5 languages, we'll kind of see where the need is. But if you're aware, just because you know the community really well, of opportunities to intersect with people who do have a language need, then I'd love to talk to you about it afterwards. So because maybe we know there's a church that where it's a Chinese church, Christian church. Okay, well, maybe we think about putting a survey flyer that's in Mandarin, so we're going to kind of use it as we need to, as our plan right now.
You spoke about you spoke about churches.
Mhm.
And as a secondary one, I would recommend that you do that. I know I go to a church in U City. And they had cards out before some of the community sessions, so I think that would be another place
Okay.
to look at. What about?
I know it's crossovers related to churches, but schools as well. Like there's at the LMS, there's a upcoming in a few weeks, walkthrough where we're gonna walk through. And yes, you'd get people in Ladue, but again, the conversation we're having about school, even though it's all of that impacts Ladue, in some capacity in schools and trying to get people with kids as well. It's a large gathering as Old Bonham, others, Miss Brady, all of them, I think would be good.
And it's not up there, but we have before and probably plan on doing it again, the peach jar. And we check which one it is. Emails and notifications through that too.
Possible to put something at the post office?
We could ask. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That part.
DMV, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, might as well do a survey. We could even make a sign that's like, while you're waiting.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, good. So you'll get this presentation and please keep thinking about those things that we can add to the list. Okay, let's talk a little bit about vision. So we'll tell you a little bit about what we've heard and what we want to get from vision. So we're not writing a vision statement tonight. I know that's so sad because you're like, I just really want to write a vision statement tonight. But we're starting like a process of getting ideas for the vision. And so you as a group will ultimately work on that vision and decide what that draft vision is that we'll take back to the community. But we're just at the stage where we're getting ideas about the vision. So this is a reminder to think big. Those of you who went to the Coffee with the Mayor saw this, but I like this idea. So has anyone heard of the Greenbelt in Europe? You have you been there? The one here? Oh. Okay. So this just but the European Greenbelt follows the Iron Curtain. So where the Iron Curtain was is now this big green belt that is a wildlife corridor that runs from way up north to way down south. So someone looking at all that barbed wire and concrete in 1950s Berlin, because it started in Germany, saw something else. And when the wall started to look like the wall was going to fall, they saw like what could be there instead of what they were looking at. So just a reminder that I think what we tend to do, and this is definitely true for me, because vision isn't my strength. Some people just have it, but vision, I have to work at it. Just a reminder to us that we don't have to look at what is and just tweak it. We can reimagine what's around us. So that's not to say that all of it needs reimagining and what's here is not good, but just a reminder that, we can think big. When you have a time frame that's 15 to 20 years, you can think big things. Olive Boulevard looks a lot different now than it did in 2006. So don't be afraid to throw out wild, crazy ideas. We kind of want to get wild, crazy ideas along the way. Yeah. So part of our planning process is to look at what's happening in your, heavy emphasis on what's happening on immediately around you. So yeah, 39 North, 170 and all the development that's happening there is really important for your context. So we'll be taking a look at that in different ways. We're getting ready to start doing a market analysis as part of our planning work. So that will really focus on Olivet's place in the region. And a lot of what came back in your survey and what we've seen people talk about along the way is that Olivet sees itself as part of a region, knows that it's a small place and a big place. What does that mean for Olivet? Because you don't need to be, you don't need a 39 north, but you're right next to it. So how do you use that? So your context is very important. So that will definitely come into the planning work. We're looking at 39 North's plan in our existing plan review. And then some of those stakeholder interviews that we get to do will probably be with some of those adjacent developments. Yeah,
There'll be an entire chapter, we call it responsible regionalism in the end final product. And then on the website as well, we'll have resources on that topic. So there'll be a lot of discussion.
yeah.
You may know that U City is in the final stages of their,
We heard that yesterday.
yes, they are. I think they did visioning last year. Now they're going into the implementation. piece,
Yeah.
Are the planning for,
So we should take a look at the plan. Yeah. And add that to. We're taking a look at a couple regional plans too. You might be familiar with one STL, the Region Sustainability Plan. So, and Forward Through Ferguson as well, just to see what those plans call for municipalities. Hello, sir, you're welcome to sit down. Members of the public are invited to observe tonight. So this is what we've heard, so a little bit about what we've heard so far on vision. So on the left side is some information that came back from the survey that you all did. So I would say that the primary thoughts there are things that we saw a lot of. So there were 7 out of 8 of you. So we had a little bit more than half took the survey. So 7 out of 8 talked about when we said Olivet, what should Olivet attract in the future? You know, in the future, Olivet will attract and blank. Families came back almost 100% with 100% consistency. So it wasn't saying that only families should be in Olivet, but just that it seemed clear that those that took the survey thought of Olivet as a place for families and wanting Olivet to be a place for families. There was a lot, I would say, a theme about listening to and involving citizens, which is, I think, unique here. I mean, it's not that other communities don't care about that, but I just don't see it coming through as loudly, I guess, as having that be an important part of your community, that people are involved in government, that you have good government that makes good decisions for people. We all want that, but I think it just comes through. And secondary thoughts, meaning like they were mentioned, but not as much. Economic development, diversity, and then the idea of affordability. People getting priced out of all of that for the concern that came through in different parts. The word cloud that you see on the right is from the intro survey. So word clouds, you've probably seen them before, but the bigger the word, the more often that word was mentioned. So when we looked at what the folks who did that survey, the 186, those are the words that came back to them. That's how they want to describe all of it in 2040. Any reaction to that? What you see, like what, I guess the question I would have, and I might write down some of your thoughts. The question I would have is what jumps out at you and really resonates as something that you would like to see continue, have us continue to discuss for the company at the time.
So this is one of my things. I really like the idea of listening to and involving citizens, but I take it a step further.
Okay.
I think that we need to have more active participation in government. And that we have a larger pool that was interested in serving on the planning commission. That we have council, that we actually have people opposing people running for council. Not that I want people who are there out. It's just a sign to me that that there's more interest and more activity on the part of citizens. I think that's very important.
Interested to know what the smallest word there, right on the I in sustainability is that we can't read.
Quiet and upscale. Yeah, there's too many words. They're two separate. It's there. Yeah, single entry. Well, I cut them off at 3. So those are 3 people said that.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think similar to your comment, I guess one of the things I want to do is challenge us to not focus just on Olive Boulevard. To your point, reimagine, whether it's, why can't we have a coffee shop on Old Bottom Road, or why can't we have a small restaurant in another place? And it's probably gonna blow people's minds sometimes, but I also think that makes a great community, kind of thing. So just because it's not there now, let's challenge ourselves to think about it.
Yeah, I have a comment about sustainability because I've noticed in your plan and talking to people, it means 2 different things. Because in the plan, it said economic sustainability, but usually it's also meant as environmentally, sustainable. So it's just, so I don't know what that means. Does that mean economic, that we want to keep bringing in money? Or does it mean that we need to be, that we want to be energy efficient and maybe, have some mass transportation or something? So,
Okay, so what do you like to just go-
Right.
When you say it's in the plan, what are you talking about?
like, so at the in your in the stuff that, what Carlos said, you sent out, and it had like the objective of this is, it says, I think somewhere I read that the objective of the strategic plan is economic sustainability and future development. That's what I thought I read as the objective of the strategic plan. So if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me, but I'm just saying that you have to be careful with that word because it means different things to different people.
And we should define it. And I think what the cities asked for, like when we responded to the city's RFP, there was a desire for that environmental sustainability piece. Because there's interest in that in the community. But to your point, it needs to be defined and articulated. What are we going to do about that? How do we act that out? So I think that's important.
And if, correct me if I'm wrong, but in these free answer survey fields, it's hard to discern what they were meaning in that moment.
Right.
So, but we can be very clear as to our intention.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that community was a big factor. And as I think about it, I don't know when the whole process started to move from private streets and to public streets, and how do we reinvigorate the community? Because when there were public streets, there were neighborhood associations. I know Indian Meadows has a very strong one, but a lot of other areas that were at some point coalescing around, say, streets or something like that, aren't doing that anymore. And how can we encourage community?
So is the issue like encouraging, tell me what the issue, is it specific to streets that you're thinking about?
No, I'm talking about how do we get to know our neighbors,
How do we-
and how do we encourage them?
For the catalyst.
Because streets,
Not
yeah, streets
participate.
with a catalyst and do other things. And now the catalyst seems to be if there's a development coming on, people will kind of say yes or no or something like that. So how can we be more, how can we have a greater vision in terms of what community means?
And Annie, were you about to say?
A little fuzzy on what their objective is for this discussion right now, but I think that communities that can connect to each other will be ones that will flow freely. So I would love to see some kind of means of like interconnectivity between communities so that, you know, if my friend goes to another school, but we're all within 2 square miles, there needs to be a easy way for, you know, the children and the families and, you know, the people who speak native languages to each other, who live within separate communities, but adjacent to each other. I
Okay.
don't.
So I wrote that idea down and like, as to what we're doing right now,
Mhm.
we are thinking about what we want, ideas that we want to consider for the vision. So 20-year vision
Yeah.
for the community. What do we want to look like, feel like? What are the ideas that we want to consider for how we describe all of that in 20 years?
Oh, how we,
Yeah, so I have an idea. So for economic development, a caveat to that should be, how does it benefit residents? So it's not economic development for the sake of economic development.
So balancing economic development with the
Much balancing it, but if you put something in, how does it,
I think, so
how does it, like, if you put in a restaurant, well, that's nice, because then we can, everybody can use it, but if you put in, I don't know, you know, something that would, that benefits the residents.
I might be able to help with that. I wouldn't have scratched out balancing because I think it's an important
Right.
thing between individual wants, needs, rights and community wants, needs, rights.
for the benefit of residents and economic development.
A lot of this discussion is like very community oriented. I see the biggest word up there is community. Word clouds can sometimes be misleading because the word could be a modifier for something else.
Yeah.
So you really, just because it occurs a number of times in a text, doesn't mean that it's necessarily important.
Yeah.
As laid out in the map.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think I like to look at the vision starters, not definitive, not like your vision needs to have all the big words in there.
And I think to that point, community be important, and we've had a lot of discussion about community here, but there are, you know, individual property rights and people wanting to be left alone. Not to sound too libertarian or anything, because I'm not. But I think it's just important to have that balance. And that's why I think, you know, underlying balance rather than scratching it out might be a good idea.
I want to add something about Olive Road. I mean, I see Olive Road as a big dividing line between north and south, you know, of Olive. And I think even though we not focus on it, but how do we get people to cross it easily? You know, so that you can take advantage of, you know, that is more of a meeting point, if you will, or be able to cross to use other parks, use other stores, shops that make it more walkable
think
or bikeable. Sorry.
to add on to this point, we have a lot of interconnecting streets kind of behind Olive Boulevard. I would love to see some kind of plan where people take up a lot less room than cars, and putting people right next to the cars is unsafe. So maybe we could just envision some kind of world where people can move through the community within the kind of home areas more, and then emerge onto Olive only when they need to cross. So maybe some kind of like trails or walkways or bikeways, but very walker friendly, maybe gardens on the side. That way it's something to stop and look at. I also wanted to, I don't know how to describe this, but I would love to see a little more like closed loops in all of that. Like, I need to do a big project and I need to tap into all these kind of industries to get this done. I would love to partner with local people. So maybe we need to have some kind of like, I don't know, something to motivate more kinds of industries to be in all of it that like the people need to use. Does this make sense to anybody?
Like a chamber of commerce. or
Yeah.
something?
Just
Business rep
opportunities for small businesses to thrive so that we can invest in our small businesses so that people can, make money, earn money, and then spend their money in Olivet. So that it all kind of, we're not shoving it all to other communities. We're keeping it here. Thank you.
Just our getting our feet wet on this conversation, we'll be talking more about it.
Sustainability, under sustainability, because that, I know it's from the word cloud, but also in there is the affordability factor that's come up a couple times. So for me, I like sustainability and affordability are
Are you thinking?
connected or,
Cost of living? What do you?
yeah, on that side, yeah, because if you have sustained home ownership and sustained affordability, that to me, those are connected in some way, just to tease out for later.
Yeah, okay.
It seems like the common theme that it's an interconnected community in which economic development, the investment of economic development is how it embraces that connectivity in there. And that's what we kind of do under the current plan, is look at or evaluate how our development helps us improve our open space, our connections, and all that. And again, this, the term of interconnectivity is different, whether it's through neighborhoods, through business resources, through just crossing Olive Boulevard, or creating community, within the street. In there, and that's, it's kind of interesting, but it seems like it's.
Yeah.
It keeps popping up.
Yeah.
I don't know for business. Progress or something, operate out of all of that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do that, because I don't necessarily. Who the retailers are.
The northeast quadrant that has the one that.
The thing is, this. I knew who was back there. I haven't.
Surprised us that the daytime population in all of that is very close to your residential population in all of that, which means this is a job center, right? A lot of people work here, and you don't necessarily see that on Olive, but they're big employers, and so how do you think about that? For your this is a rhetorical question at this point, but I think it is potentially formative for what you do in the next 15, 20 years. If you're a job center, that's a lot of people here during the day that support all of that businesses. What kinds of amenities you want to have for that workforce. So it just is another way to think about the community. Yeah.
And I would add just, with the pandemic and work from home, a lot of people, like I'm a hybrid, I go to the pair 2 days a week, the other days I'm in all of that, during the week, there's probably a lot of people like that. They're spending more time in the neighborhood now during the day, want to go to these businesses and explore and,
Yeah.
so we
So
just
there
add
are
that.
more people, working, even if they statistically, they might show up working outside the community, they're actually spending more time. Yeah. Quickly on the Olive as a barrier, when you do the trend exercise and when you look at the snapshot, you'll see that we looked at 3 data points north-south of Olive, just for reference. So we looked at median income, we looked at race, ethnicity, and we looked at rent-owned household, renter-owned home household. Very, very different results north and south of Olive, which probably doesn't surprise you, but when you see it right there, as it really jumps out. So as you're doing the trend exercise in a little bit, you'll be encouraged to kind of think about that when it comes to evaluating some of those trends. So we know that's a thing that we're really thinking about with the comprehensive plan and bridging. How do you bridge that difference, not just physically, but socially and as a community and bringing people together, you know, like that, what can we do? Okay, so I think this is a really, really good set of just initial thoughts on thinking about what the vision might include. So ultimately in the comprehensive plan, when we get a lot more community feedback on this, bring it back to you, kind of hash through it again, we'll end up coming up with a vision statement. And then there's always, you know, a long explanation of what we mean by that. So the vision statement is like the shorthand for something that will take a lot more time to explain, because it will end up that, you know, there's a lot of thought that goes into a vision statement. We'll make sure that it's explained so that we really convey what the community's landing on. So let's take a look at your survey results for the SWOT, and then we'll do our picture real fast and then get you in your plan exercise. So strengths and weaknesses. Schools came out very much at the top, mentioned by almost everybody that took the survey, followed by location, Parks and Rec, and so on. The weaknesses there, I didn't note numbers because there wasn't a lot of coalescence around on them. That if it's up here, it got mentioned by more than one person. So the small size, the challenge, the Olive side, traffic and density on Olive. People don't have an option and being passed through rather than a destination. Is there anything you'd like to that just jumps out that you really want to add to either of these considerations?
I don't know if it's a weakness, but I don't know if it's a weakness, but what I've noticed is that the traffic on the side streets have really been increasing. In other words, I live south of Olive. So the traffic on Old Bonham is getting really bad because people use it like as a cut through from Clayton. And then the traffic on Price and Dealman. So the traffic on those are like the only 3 streets, but it's getting really bad, and it's kind of ruining the neighborhoods because the traffic is so bad. It's not fun, or you know, it's not to walk along on the sidewalks that were just put in and things like that, and or to bike and the things like that because the traffic is getting so bad. And people are really speeding a lot too, you know, even by the schools. So.
Take a look at opportunities for us, and I think because I look at this a little bit quickly because I want to get to trends. The homework we'll give you after the meeting is I'm going to give you some things that I hope you'll think about for us, and just take a little more time with and give us some feedback on, especially those of you who didn't do the survey. I don't know who you were because we didn't ask for names, but you know who you are. We're gonna, just because of time, not spend a lot of time here. So opportunities and threats, partnerships. So this is another unique thing to me for Olivet, really seeing the need for partnerships. In the RFP for this plan, you asked for that responsible regionalism. When I think about what that means, and so we saw that in the results from the survey, but partnerships and cooperation with other communities. So we're really going to take a hard look at that, think about what that means. The opportunities, housing, mixed income housing, affordability. The only threat that was really mentioned repeatedly was kind of the opposite of that. You know, a threat is this lack of affordable housing. So that's an issue. And then opportunities, our boulevard, how much development, what type of development, where else should we be developing? So that will be a big conversation for that. So if anything jumps to mind now, we can take a couple ideas and then that's gonna be something I ask you to think about more between your next. Meetings. Okay, Rick, and then Carol and.
Beth, I thought, where I see, development in different places within all of that. Sort of landlocked.
Yeah.
And I just heard something, you correct me if I'm wrong, that our industrial areas are 97% occupied. And there's really no place else to go.
Yeah.
There
99.5% developed. So.
and occupied.
And then occupied is something, yeah, that.
And I think someone said it, and I think a lot of us use it, is the balance. We need the balance. We need the businesses. We also need the homeowners and the residents here. We need to be able to take care of both. And so I think that we need to keep in mind there's a lot of that cooperation. We have wonderful services here and all of that. So a lot of that is paid by the residents or partnered with the business community. And we need to continue to build on taking care of both our residents and our businesses.
Do you think that's a point just in terms of how we present things to the public? Do you think that's something that we should, like part of the story that we're telling? So people, because I don't know that, I say that because I don't know that your average citizen who doesn't think about the inner working of government and how the finances work, always see the connection between having, right, it means your property taxes are lower, right? Because part of your city services, part of your schools are being funded by businesses. And so having that balance, part of that, is that something we need to be emphasizing? Is probably a better way of saying it, yeah, for explaining.
And I think, and a lot of us, there's a lot of people around here who've been here 20, 25 years plus. And they have to have seen a lot of the things that have been going on in all of that. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but there's a lot of change that has happened with our parks department. We've got all these new parks. We've the school district is second to none. And it's we need to take care of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to take care of those partners.
Okay.
To that,
Rod
Oh,
and
sorry.
Carol, then we'll.
okay, just your point, there has been a lot of change, and I'd say demographically as well. And I don't know if this is an opportunity or a threat, but with the change of, you take a place like Oak Estates, where 25 years ago, the majority of houses there were 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom slabs, 1,300 square feet. And basically, what has happened is that a lot of them have gone into disrepair, waiting for the developers to come along to put in the 3,500, 4,500 square foot large homes. That has happened. We've had over 400 tear downs in the area of about 2,800 home sites in all of that, which accounts for a large percentage. That demographic shift has changed the need or the want of so many people wanting to look for amenities. And it's starting to happen with some of the development down Olive, but there is an appetite for more. I don't know if it's an opportunity or a threat.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is an issue with the planning. Commission.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
So it's, in many ways, it's a threat that has occurred because of existing opportunities. As we have focused more and more on the redevelopment of Olive Street Road, the narrowness of our commercial corridor and the immediacy of the residential right behind it doesn't give us a lot of opportunity to separate the commercial development from the residential. And the commercial development, especially the redevelopment that's going in, has an immediate impact, and the neighborhoods don't like it, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
And we need, as a city, a better way to deal with that conflict. And the nature of it in many ways changes depending on the site and the use. But a lot of the same problems and how we deal with it keep repeating.
Okay.
And I know you're in a hurry, but I think an opportunity is to come up with innovative ways of dealing with the business residential interfaces as we go along, Olive.
Okay, we'll talk more about that. Maybe there's some communities that we can look at. Just kind of see some ways that other communities have dealt with that. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, let's get you up for just a minute. We're gonna go take a picture. We're gonna take our picture. I know, this will be great. We're gonna do it right back here. And then I'll let you take a like 3-minute, just pause to get something more to eat, go to the bathroom, and then we'll, while you're doing that, we'll reconfigure your tables. So you're set up for your trend discussion. So let's go up here. Carlos, you're in this picture, so are you done? Okay.
If anyone was curious, the sandwiches are turkey, chicken salad, and roasted tomato cheddar. So, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, that's everybody's saying. Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. Mail the day that it came, and all of a sudden he runs in the house. And he's like, hanging in the back door.
Closer together. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, just a couple minutes and then we'll do the. Okay,
So at this point, I think I'll bring the microphone.
okay.
together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, video wise, yes.
Hey, everybody, we'll do about 5 more minutes, so maybe this card and one more.
Yeah, I can put them in. I was gonna take them to the lunchroom unless
Yeah.
you wanted to offer them more here.
There's a couple.
That's what I figured. So I was just gonna start.
Okay. Yeah, good. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Don, let's wrap it up.
Oh.
Come on. Sorry.
Well, I'm going to see if I can.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, let's talk just for a few minutes about what your discussion was about. Or we could just listen to theirs. Can I start with you all? So just to think a little bit about what you did. So let's talk for just a second about what you like. How was that exercise? Was it easy? It seemed like once you got into the rhythm of it, okay. And then what did you spend most of your time talking about? And would someone like to volunteer to share what landed in your quadrant that was the most important? You'll get a microphone.
Okay, I would just say, yeah, the theme of housing affordability and housing options that came up is definitely like high impact, high certainty for us. Let me stand closer to that so I can see. Parks and recreation, I think we all agreed was very important. Technology, smart cities, authentic experiences, were high certainty, high impact. Increasing childcare needs, childcare costs, change in demographics. High certainty, these are all high certainty, high impact for us. Anything I missed? Authentic experiences, changes in the workforce, I think more science type of jobs and people moving into the area. That was basically it.
The changing needs of, oh, sorry. Too stimulating for me. The changing needs of our current demographic, the young people, the older generations, and the changing dynamics in our cultures with people immigrating to our area.
All right, so how about our group over? Yeah, does anybody want to speak for your group?
Testing. Yes, the two biggest areas were probably housing, as the other group saw, and high impact, high certainty, things like increased density housing types. All that demographics were changing, things like population growth and housing choice. They were all things that we're probably going to have to deal with in the shorter long term. Also, things in that area were income disparities. Don't know if were they going to continue on, or were they going to change in time. Also, future of education was interesting. Some of the things that we didn't think that we're low certainty, and we looked at it in terms of not necessarily nationally, but trying to focus just on our little community. Things like smart cities and technology. It's kind of like we didn't see that changing the nature of life in town much at all. Also, things like micro mobility. We didn't see that happening. I'd love to see a driving around on a Lime scooter one of these days. Autonomous vehicles was another one we didn't see. Could happen, but it wasn't something that was really going to change most people's life. And things that had lower impact were things like artificial intelligence and high certainty that things are going to happen. Things like climate change and emergency migration. Again, trying to look at our specific area rather than the entire metro area. Aging in place, That was another one that's probably going to happen, but we kind of likened it to the fact that there are a fair amount of older individuals in the area already. Authentic experiences. We don't think that that's really going to be a draw to the area, although it may change some of the amenities that people are looking for in an area. So those are some of the areas that that had a low impact, but were probably going to happen.
Comments from.
For our group, I'd say some of the things we actually did have higher impact. The top right and high certainty, we included actually the green energy and kind of EV infrastructure, parks, and like the others, the housing. We really thought about that part of, and then the environmental impacts too of more focused on how that might, with the green energy side to it, and how we could maybe more residents would have like heat pumps or more energy efficient heating cooling systems. And then two, with the micro mobility, perhaps, you know, had the one that was the only one we said wouldn't include in the trend. Anything else? We had most of the discussion about how would this really, kind of similar to you guys, impact just the Olivet as well. So. And then autonomous vehicles was something we want to keep track of, especially if up and down Olive. So yeah, we don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Comment on the housing affordability. Affordable housing is a term of art. Too close? Oh, sorry. Affordable housing is really a term of art that's used in housing circles. And when you talk about affordable housing, it means housing for lower income. It's a particular income strata. When we talk about housing affordability, which I think is really what most of us would be talking about, that's a different thing. And we talked about on the card, it mentions increasing our housing choices so that we will have some housing affordability. But the way our market trends are is that our new housing is still costing a lot of money. So, and part of that's due to our great school district. We know that. But we have housing that is affordable, and that's it's some of that strata, and it's a lot of it is existing single family homes, the old ranches that probably need a little work, but they are in that more affordability range. And I just wanted to point that out because I think that's an important thing we don't want to lose sight of.
Right. Well, thanks for doing that. Hope it seemed to have, the conversation seemed to be good. So, so we will, we're going to leave those just like they are, and we're going to take pictures of them, and then we'll kind of tally them and bring back the results to have you think about next time. So, so we are almost done. So let me give you a little preview. You're excited. It's okay. Preview of what's coming next. So your next in-person meeting is going to be May 11th. Next month, we are going to have a kind of a extended homework assignment for you. And the goal of that assignment is to have you think about the most critical issues for the comprehensive plan. So you're going to get a couple of tools to do that. One is a generation profile and one is a labor profile. And so it's kind of role playing. And so in the generation profile, it lays out about 6 different generations, gives them personality. So it might say, this is Beth, she's X number of years old. I'm a Gen Xer. So it'd say I'm a Gen Xer. She lives in Olivet. She's a teacher. She has 2 kids, and so you start to think about what are these, and we'll base it on the demographics that are here. So you'll start to think about these different perspectives on your community. And using those perspectives, you'll think about the issues that are most important, or what does this generation think about housing? Labor profiles kind of work the same way, thinking about different socioeconomic groups and the needs that they have as workforce, as residents. So just a different way to get you to think about living in your community. So that's going to be the homework assignment in April that will be coming. So that is actually on your process diagram, and the date for that's going to be in early April. Right, was, third through, yes, so third through, so we'll give it to you on the 3rd. You'll have until the 14th to give it back to us. So immediately following this meeting, I mean, not tonight, but tomorrow, I'll send you the presentation and then a few things to think about that we kind of ran short on time tonight about the SWOT. So thinking about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, just to give us a little bit more information there. So, I mean, your other homework assignment is to really get people to take our survey, the vision and issue survey. So if you use social media, send it to people, link it there. You'll start seeing it in city social media, so you could just like it and then share it with people that way. So anything you can think of. We are working on signage that's going to support the promotion of that survey, and when it's available, we'll let you know, because you might be able to help us if you're willing to do some sign distribution in the community. So we might, I might do like a Sign Up Genius or something for that, where you could sign up to take it specific places and help the project team out that way. That'd be great. So that's probably at the end of March. Yes.
Please register for the website, because
Okay.
we want to try to have you guys have your own page that only you guys can access. And we can only do that if you all register, so that I can put you in the group.
So it's easy. We set the website up so that if you take the survey, you don't have to register because it's a barrier, and we want as many people as possible to take that. But if you do register, you get access to more activities. It's just the way our engagement platform is set up. So if you're going to be on an ideas board where you're exchanging ideas with people, you got to register so it encourages good behavior. So registration is helpful, but it'd be helpful for this group in particular, so we could create that page for you and give everybody access to materials real easily.
If you have any troubles with the website, email me, because you guys are test driving it for us, basically. You'll be the first people to see it. I mean, it's live. The public can see it too, but you'll be the first ones to actually really
Try new
pay
stuff.
attention to it.
Yeah, and try the new things we put out there. Yeah. Well, we will put all of these requests.
Yeah.
Yes,
Our brains turned off like an hour ago.
yeah, we will. Yeah, yes.
That happened.
Yeah, we'll do flyers. I'll let you know when we've got everything, what we have. We're gonna have bookmarks, flyers, posters. So we'll probably just order a bunch of stuff and have it here so y'all can pick it up, and yeah, we would love that. We'd love that. Yeah, we'll work with Carlos to make sure, probably at the front desk or something, and make it easy for you to pick up. So, all right, well, we'll be around afterwards if you have any questions, but thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing more of you. Yeah, thank you. Leave the name tags if you would, but you can take your binders with you.
If you want a gold star from me, you'll remember to bring it back every time.
That's right, there could be prizes involved. Yes.
I'm a singular, the married singular. With a name like that, you end.